Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mace. I'm coming to you from Canada. Today we're checking out a video titled Europe versus the United States of America. Actual everyday life references. We got a gentleman, I'm guessing he's going to be an American. He has a Detroit Red Wings shirt. Was always one of my favorite hockey teams and one of my favorite logos in the NHL. Fantastic stuff. It's, time to get to the video. Let's do it.
Ever wondered what the real day-to-day differences between living in Europe and the USA are? Well, today we're diving into a fun, lighthearted head-to-head.
Right, I always thought outlets should just be compatible everywhere. So it is rather annoying that there's different compatibilities. It's very, very minor inconvenience, however. And it's also annoyed, like, especially on the internet, people often will mistake you. Myself as a Canadian, they'll mistake me for an American because our quote-unquote accents can be not super distinguishable, especially here on the West Coast. Like, our accents are kind of negligible and sound very similar to people across the border, a short distance away in the United States, really.
At comparison of the two. And maybe I might even get a smile out of you. But first, quick question. Which do you think is better to live in? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is some guy named David, Portugal, an American who has traveled to over 20 countries in Europe, and I've made many videos comparing cost of living, healthcare, work-life balance, and similar topics. This is not that. Today we're going to dive into a territory where few go. This is just a silly video for entertainment comparing the everyday life, day-to-day things that you will have to deal with living in Europe or the United States. And if this video offends you, get a life and maybe go take up a new hobby like gardening. Anyway, without further fluffy duff, let's get right into the showdown, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, plug enthusiasts of all ages,
we're diving into the electrifying debate that has been shocking the world for decades. Are electrical sockets better in the USA or Europe? Let's get charged up. First, we have the good old US of A. The infamous Type A and B plug.
Yeah, the Type A, Type B, these are the ones that are predominantly everywhere in North America. They're in my house. That's just where we're at.
The Type A is one of the oldest electrical plug designs still in use today. It was absolutely electrifying when it was invented in 1904 by Harvey Hubble.
1904.
It was widely adopted in the Americas and Japan.
Just checking.
And now, meet the improved Type C or Europlug. That is the most widely used electrical plug in the world.
It's probably safer.
With its round sockets and robust design, European plugs say, "Oui, I'm sophisticated, even if they're German." European sockets run on 230 volts. Meanwhile, America's 120 volts say, "Slow and steady wins the race, eventually." But to be honest, after living in Europe for 3 years, I'm going to have to say that I prefer the European plug to the USA one. If you have a heavy charging block like the Apple ones for your laptop, it can easily just fall out of the wall. And the European one just feels so much more stable. I'm gonna have to give this one to Europe.
It did look like the protective cowling on the European one might be an issue sometimes, like to plug in this charger. Like, how would you get the iPhone charger in there? Not a big deal, just an observation. But yeah, wow, they distribute a lot more power, 230 volts versus 120. And the North American ones have been around for 120 years.
First up, the American dryer.
Okay.
The land of supersized everything,
Yeah.
Fridges, coffee cups, egos,
Washers and
yes,
dryers.
the turbocharged tumble dryer. Need your clothes bone dry in 30 minutes flat? Boom! These bad boys could double as a jet engine. Nothing beats the feeling of fresh, hot laundry. It's like
True, that's one of my wife's favorite things. Hot, nice, warm sweater out of the dryer. Put that right on. Ugh. Meanwhile, I'm always like too hot. I don't like hot things.
a warm hug from your favorite blanket. Plus, who's got time to wait? Americans are too busy chasing dreams, watching Netflix, or Googling how to fix a clogged lint trap. And now we jet across the Atlantic to Europe,
Okay,
where
what's-
dryers, well, they're more of a suggestion. Why use electricity when you've got the good old-fashioned sunshine? That's right, air drying is the OG eco-friendly hack. In Europe, drying your clothes isn't just a chore, it's a lifestyle. If you care about the environment, your energy bill, and your clothes not shrinking to doll-sized versions of themselves, air drying is a great way to do it, and I do it a lot here in Europe. But beware, should you stumble upon a European dryer, prepare for the slowest spin of your life. Dryers in Europe take an incredible amount of time to dry your clothes.
So I will say, growing up, we always had a clothesline up, and it would be one of my chores throughout the week, throughout the day, to either put up laundry or take laundry down when it was dry. And we had this fantastic clothesline all the way across the backyard. It was so long, you could put so much clothes on there. It was freaking great.
Like 3 hours. So air drying your clothes outside is the preferred option in Europe. But here's the kicker, literally. Americans might love their dryers, but their electricity bills love them even more. Europeans, on the other hand, are busy saving money and Mother Earth, one drying rack at a time. So which is better? The power and speed of the American dryer or the eco-friendly charm of the European breeze? It all boils down to your priorities, instant results or Zen-like patience. As much as I love the soothing meditation of drying my clothes outside, Europe in the winter is probably the worst place to dry your clothes outside. And having a good dryer is just so convenient, even here in Southern Europe in a place like Portugal. So this one for me is going to go to the USA.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, you need sunshine, you need warm weather to dry your clothes outside. It's like when I was in Southeast Asia, we dry all our clothes outside. Hopefully you would have enough clothes for the next day. Okay, light switches we're getting onto here.
Light switches. Forget politics, forget food. This is what truly separates us. Welcome to Europe, where light switches are chic, square, and flush with the wall. Press up for off and down for on. Sophisticated.
How was that one flush with the wall?
Square and flush with the wall. Press up for off and down for on. Sophisticated, elegant. And here's the good old US of it.
Right.
Our switches, it's like a little thing that goes up and down. Are you just happy to see me, or is your light on? But in a lot of places in Europe, especially Southern Europe, the light switch is outside of the bathroom. To be in the bathroom or outside of the bathroom? That is the question. Now there's a logical reason for this, as before fault circuit interrupters were invented to prevent electrocution, it was mandatory for the light switches to be on the outside of the bathroom. However, this has changed in most parts of Europe, and it makes sense because it's no fun to be in the shower and have your siblings turn the lights off on you as a prank. But in my opinion, where the US wins is the dimmer. Light dimmers
Don't do that to people. I do that to my wife. She gets very angry.
Aren't as common in Europe, and
Sometimes
that's
I do it by
unfortunate
accident.
when it's time to turn on the slow jams and dim down the lights. Now, a quick word from the sponsor who made this video possible. Have you ever Googled yourself?
So yeah, it's interesting looking at these cultural differences like this, because at the end of the day, everything's much more similar than I think we like to propose sometimes in videos and things like that. I'm sure if I went to Europe right now, like, it wouldn't be a huge culture shock to me. I'm very at the worst of times, I'm pretty calm and collected and nonplussed about things. So I think I'll be fine. This is a long ad. Incogni. What is it even? All right, we're getting on to the next one. Door locks. Do you guys lock your doors? We lock our doors sometimes. Like if we're leaving for multiple days, but a lot of the times during the day, we'll just keep it open, but we usually lock it at nighttime. Just, I don't know. It's a different world than it was 25 years ago or 20 years ago. My parents' place, we used to like rarely lock the doors. However, I can't really remember. Maybe my mom was locking the front door all the time and locking those doors at night. But during the daytime, yeah, everything was always open.
And we can't talk about safety without talking about door locks. In Europe, locking your door is like solving an escape room. You've got to lift the handle, twist the key, say a magic spell, and perform a little waltz before it's secured. Meanwhile, in the US, click, and that's it.
That's a
toddler
door,
could lock
right?
it or unlock it, which is slightly concerning. I've noticed that Europeans are always accidentally locking themselves out of their house, seemingly more on average than in the US. And that's because a lot of doors lock automatically when you close the door. In Europe, I'm convinced your locksmith has a degree in engineering. It's like, this lock has been passed down for generations, crafted by medieval blacksmiths. Meanwhile, in the US, it's like, hey, close enough. If someone really wants in, they'll just kick the door in anyway. So in Europe, your door is like Fort Knox, and in the US, it's more like Fort Cardboard. To be honest, I think
Fort Cardboard, just like the houses, right? Just like the North American houses, as opposed to the European designs.
I think this one is a stalemate because there are pros and cons to each locks in Europe and the USA. Stalemate! So recently on a trip back to the United States, I couldn't help but notice how different consumerism is between the USA and Europe.
That is a giant log of ground beef. Jesus.
In grocery stores in the US, it's like you're constantly bombarded by all these...
I really got to start eating cleaner. It's something that I vowed to do lately. Less processed meats, just more whole foods in general, I think. More fruits and veggies. Got to get healthier, man.
Single brands for everything. It's just
up.
crazy how many options you have for everything, and it seems like everyone and their cousin has made some product, pitched it to Shark Tank, and now you're being sold a bottle of water for $7 that has some type of vitamin in it you apparently can't live without, even though everyone has been just fine without it up until this point. But let's face it, the United States goes way overboard when it comes to health trends and getting you to buy products you probably don't really need. In Europe, this isn't so much the case.
Just drink water.
You can
and
find
a banana
everything you
and an
need,
apple
but
and
there are far less
spinach,
brands in your face everywhere.
salad.
You can find the high quality raw materials, and shopping is just much more simple. Without a doubt, Europe has much higher quality food for less than the United States. But what I will say is that the United States has much higher quality standards for other things. For instance, Leroy Merlin, or Leroy Merlin, a hardware store which is all over Europe, doesn't even hold a candle when it comes to Home Depot in the United States, in my opinion. Most of the stuff I've purchased from Leroy Merlin is very cheap, expensive, and honestly not worth it. That's not to say there aren't high quality products in Europe, but you're better off to get high quality stuff directly from the manufacturer. I'm gonna give this one to Europe because I prefer to buy more important things like healthy food at an affordable price versus Whole Foods in the United States, aka Whole Paycheck, where health stores have become one of the greediest and biggest...
Whole Foods, aka Whole Paycheck. Yeah, I think it's been mentioned a lot. The food situation, going back a long ways. Like, you can go back to Super Size Me, America's obsession with fast food. You know, McDonald's absolute popularity, which has waned, I think. It's certainly waned. It's like when McDonald's started to put out salads, it's like you knew that McDonald's must be struggling a little bit, although they still make a ton of money. There's no doubt about it, but I don't think it's like they were in the late 90s or the mid 2000s.
Scams in the US, in my opinion. Europe, you get this one.
I barely eat fast food anymore. Like,
now let's talk about some important business. What's more universal, right? In the US, toilets are like swimming pools for your business. There's so much water in there, you'd expect a lifeguard to show up. And sometimes, if you're not careful, it can splash back up at you like a cannonball. Meanwhile, in Europe...
Too much information this morning, bud.
It's all about efficiency. You've got these sleek, low-water bowls that scream, "We're here to do the job, not host a pool party." And then there's the button dilemma. One button for a light flush, another for a heavy flush. In America, it's one handle, one job. In Europe, you suddenly...
That's not true, really. The buttons are everywhere now. It's like the same thing here.
Have to make an...
I think there's a toilet revolution going on, actually. There's a toilet revolution. Revolution de toilette.
Ethical decision about how much water your actions truly deserve. Now, the reason I'm going to give this to Europe is because a lot of European countries have a secret weapon, and that's the bidet. Now, I hope you had as much fun as I...
Like Southeast Asia, they have bidets, and I can't remember what they call it. They have like a bucket filled with water and like a scoop in it. I can't remember what you call it exactly. And often the bathrooms are like... The bathrooms are built so you can get like water everywhere within the bathroom area. It's usually like concaved, like down a little bit, has a recess. So, and then there's a drain, so you can like, yeah, it's just different style. That's certainly a difference when you go around the world, different styles of toilets, and whatnot. Interesting stuff, toilets, right?
I did because this was just a blast. This video is in no way saying that the United States or Europe is better. It's just me trying to have some good, clean fun and hopefully make you smile. If you like this video and you want to see more videos about living in Europe, subscribe to my channel. I will be posting videos like this every single week for your viewing pleasure. Remember, this is some guy named David.
I think it's interesting, you know, the study of humans and where they reside. Sociologically, it's interesting. Like, okay, what people are staying where they are born. You know, I live right now about 45 minutes from where I was born. The hospital I was born at is about 45 minutes away. I have lived in Vancouver. You know, that's a bit farther away. It's about 3 or 4 hours away from where I was born. I haven't lived out of my country. I haven't lived outside of Canada. And now I'm kind of back closer to home. And for many years, I did live, 5 minutes away from where I was born. And people tend to appreciate and have a bias towards wherever they live and think that's probably the best place for them or the best place to live, period. But you kind of come to love what you know, I think, to some degree. This video is interesting. The differences really weren't that big, drying clothing outside, light switches, electrical outlets, shopping. There's a lot of differences, but a lot of the same as well. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.